What's going on, guys? KY Not Kai the Creative, and we just got back from another trip, but we are actually going to talk about a video that I did before. So I did do a little bit of the behind the scenes of a Gymshark shoot that I recently had worked on, but there is one thing that I have to tell you, and I have to be a little bit more transparent about it, but I didn't edit it, but I did get the person that did. So in today's video, we're actually going to be interviewing editor Aaron Garcha, who's actually part of the Gymshark's in-house editing team and one of the creative minds behind this campaign. Now, this is more of a podcast style episode, so if you guys are looking for a gigantic timeline breakdown of some of the editing for this video, that will be in a future video at a later date, mostly because the screen recordings Aaron has, and he just got married, so congratulations. I can't finish this video without them, but I'm going to put this out today. It's going to be a little bit more of a podcast style, so if you do want to see some back and forth, this is the video for you in terms of how this video is actually edited. And again, a lot of those timeline breakdowns and really nitty-gritty tutorial stuff will be coming in a later video, but if you guys want to go and put some headphones on and enjoy this conversation, throw those bad boys on and enjoy the video. There's an intimate lubricant that is the same initials as me, and I had no idea, so I figured that out the hard way. So we have here the editor for the recent Gymshark campaign that I had worked on. So this is Aaron Garcha, and we are going to ask him a couple of questions on how he edited this commercial and how he put everything together in the end.
Hey man, how we doing? Thanks very much for having me. Really looking forward to having this chat, and yeah, ask away, whatever you've got, I'm here.
After the shoot, I had dropped off the footage for Gymshark to get sent back to the UK, and obviously it landed on your desk. So let us know, what are the first couple things that you do once you kind of get a bunch of footage from a shoot that maybe from abroad that you might not necessarily been on set for?
Yeah, so really there's two ways we'd do it. So like number one is we would either get like the proxy files. So depending on whether, so we don't always get it where it just lands on my desk, right? Sometimes we're traveling around and we're going to multiple locations. So it's easier just to upload like proxy files or low res versions of that, and I'll download those. Or, you know, like for you, I managed to batch them all on a hard drive, which was great. So what I want to do is go through and understand how your day went, right? So we categorize and organize everything into specific folders, and we almost build like our own digital shot list within that, so that we can get ourselves to probably what I would call as like shot lock, so that we understand the footage that we're going to use and really understand, because we weren't there, right? We weren't the DITs on set, we weren't actually logging, we weren't looking at it there, so I don't have those eyes. So I really need to dive into that, which means going through every video file, even the ones where you just kept rolling afterwards, right? I just need to work out whether those shots are there. And for me, I'm going to be, in my mind, I'm going to be setting in and out points, all right? And for those that are listening and use Premiere, you'll understand what the in and out points are. For anyone else, that really is just where the start of the footage that I'm going to use and the end of the footage, right? And once I've got that in my mind and I've understood where those files are, I'll put them in a folder that's relevant to it. But I'll leave the file names and the file structure exactly the same as how you sent them to me, and I will do everything else inside Premiere.
Yeah, and I think that's tough too, is like you kind of have there's a lot of times where you have a certain idea you have on set, you have your shot list, everything's ready to go, and if it can go wrong, it does go wrong, and you have to get faced with limitations and stuff like that. And that was kind of, and the gym shoot, I mean, it went really well, but I think there was a couple of things that like we talked about even a couple weeks ago, and we were like, we really want to get like X, Y, and Z shot. We got there, I'm like, there isn't time, and there was like someone had an injury. The lights weren't necessarily what we wanted out of it, but we just kind of make it work, and you kind of pivot from there, which is really nice too, especially in the post-production, because that's where you start. That's where DPs look like superstars, essentially, right? Like, I'll capture whatever I can and do the best, and kind of at the end of it, after everything's gone through Premiere Pro and stuff like that, you're able to see kind of what's able to be pulled out and stuff like that. Now, in terms of the edit itself, when you get stuff back, kind of give me a breakdown in terms of when you're thinking of how long to make a video when you get edits back, or what necessarily the specific deliverables on your end are to kind of go back up to Gymshark to be shared or posted and stuff like that. So was there a game plan? Did the game plan kind of change when footage got back, or do you guys kind of plan that stuff in the beginning, or do you kind of plan it when the footage is there and you just see what's possible?
Yeah, so for full transparency, it did change when we got the footage, because, and that's through no fault of your own. That's because we had other plans at play, right? We had different locations that we wanted to go to, we had different times, and this was all changed and it was all rolling. But in terms of like the deliverables that we have to provide and that we want, we've got we've got brief owners, right? So these brief owners could be social, they could be paid social, they could be marketing front, or they could realistically just be like the organic social team going, hey, we need video for this channel, this Instagram page, this TikTok page, etc. And they will brief in once we've come up with the fact that the shoot has been approved. They will then submit their briefs to us, the editors, and we'll be able to decide whether that's possible. So for Steve, it was actually predominantly going to be paid ads, so that we can sell the line and we can show it off to our audience, right? And there's some organic assets in there too, but they sort of come out with where they need those paid ads to be placed. So whether that be a 30-second video on like in a post, like an in-feed post, or whether that be a 15-second sponsored reel, or maybe even a 6-second display ad that comes up on Google. That's the sort of things that they request. And of course, we actually like to go one step above and beyond, right? We always like to do something a little bit further, and that's to be more inclusive to our audience. So as well as all those briefs, all those different cut downs and variations and platforms that we want to put them on, we've also got regions that we want to think about as well, because we have a global audience, right? And we're selling a product to that global audience. So we want to make sure that we regionalize all the assets as well. So all the deliverables will have specific Dutch translations on them. We'll be able to have a French voiceover, or maybe we only recorded it once. So for example, this one, the talent was Steve Cook. So we wanted to make sure that the voiceover was authentic and it was his voice, but to be really inclusive to our non-English speakers, we made sure that we had our very talented in-house copy team. We've got French, Dutch, German copywriters in-house, and they were able to translate that in the most native local language, something that Premiere's auto-transcribe and something that Google Translate can't quite achieve, and that's what it really looks like. So I'll take those in and out points and I'll bring my selects and I bring them into a selects timeline. And this is twofold. This is one for me to be able to see the footage in play at the correct speed, right? Because when I'm doing my in and outs, I'm just scrubbing. And also for me to see the quality of the footage that we're working with. And then the second one is I will use those selects and I will actually grade them all. So if I have 4 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of selects, I'm gonna grade all that as one timeline, right? I'm gonna export that. I'm gonna export that selects timeline, drop it into DaVinci, or in some cases I'll do a base grade in Premiere, just so that it's just more visually appealing to me. I can understand what I want. And sometimes we'll cross that with the photos there, the stills that are being taken as well. So if we've got a photographer on site taking stills, if those have been retouched and graded that represent the finished product, I'm going to refer to that as well for the grade, right? Just to make sure that everything is like on point, right? So that if there's ever a time where you're flicking between video and stills, they look the same, right? It's great sometimes having a cinematic grade on a video, but if the color of Steve's blue, right, is that blue on the t-shirt is like completely unique. If that blue was different from the video than it was to the stills, then when someone sees the video and goes onto the website to buy the product, they might be disappointed because that's not the hue that they liked, right? So we just need to make sure that those things are on point. So that really determines that. And for Steve's piece, we knew straight away the largest asset that we were going to use was 30 seconds. So I actually built a 1 minute video. And the reason I built the 1 minute video is to make sure that I had 30 seconds in order to give our global audiences 2 different versions.
Oh, okay. That's actually super interesting. I didn't think about that, like actually building almost double what you wanted to. So you have 2 options, or if you find like one is like, it's basically the A/B test them realistically, right? And whatever one is going to do better, that's just probably going to be like in your back end for ad assets and stuff like that. That's just the one you run more. That's super dope. And then also, I guess if you have like a restock or anything like that, you could always just use the opposite video, right? So if you have an A and a B and somebody already saw, say, the first video that just came out, everything out of that collection runs out and you get a restock, you just flip it back over and just use the other assets. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
100%. And I'm really data driven, and it's one of the things that maybe a lot of people are they're coming to light now, right? But I really push it really hard that we should be A/B testing everything. And I feel like everyone in video should be A/B testing everything, right? Yeah. And my opinion and the marketing director's opinion and the chief brand officer's opinion are all valid, right? And they're all great because they use their industry knowledge, they use their experience, and they come up with these ideas and interpretations of what looks good. But what we forget in that element is our audience has a completely different mindset, right? And I always like to bring my partner into this because she'll watch something and she'll go, oh, that was too fast, or oh, I want to see more of that. And I'll sit here thinking, oh, really? That's what you want to see? But that's our target audience, right? So I need to be listening to that. So by having two versions of it, maybe version 2, maybe the B version, actually has a couple of shots in there or has a different style of dynamic editing that's more appealing to our audience. And we would never know that unless we actually push that out there and we see how it performs. So that's another way of looking at it, is that the data post-publishing could be more valuable to the future edit or to an alternate version. So if we have an international audience and a North American audience, I, where possible, try to give them 2 different videos, and I like to see how the performance is. And then we can go to the paid marketing team, the paid social team, and say, hey, this one's performing better, let's swap them around and see. So it's live A/B testing, but it still does the job, right? Because we have such a strict review process here. It goes through so many people to make sure that we really are pushing out the highest quality content. We've got video reviews, audio reviews. We've got, from a marketing standpoint, are the call to actions in the right place? Is our branding in the right place? And then we also have, like, from a video perspective, like, oh, does that shot flow? Does the match right? Are the transitions good? Is the color correct? All those sorts of things. Once we've been through those levels of reviews, we often have a conversation internally and we say, which video do you feel is stronger? Yeah, and that's the video that we want to post to the larger audiences. But our international audience is actually larger than our North American audience because we have all those translations, right? We have all those different regions, and every region has their own opinions. And we did a recent launch in January where we're targeting Australia, LA, and like Berlin, Germany, like the European side of things. And their weather climate is completely different as well. So we made sure that our A and B versions featured different versions of the clothing. So maybe the Australian audience that were experiencing summer in January were wearing shorts and t-shirt, but the guys in Berlin, they're freezing, right? They need it. They don't want their shorts and t-shirt. They want their hoodies and their leggings, and selling them, showing them an ad for summer wear. Even though it's from the same range, they want to know that they can be warm and still wear the brand, right? So we take all those things into account.
That's insane. I didn't think how much goes into it. Because I guess when you're working on smaller projects with smaller companies, you're just, let me pump out the video, satisfy the client, collect my check, be on my merry way. But there's a lot more in depth, and even just like in 30-second videos. Because I think what ends up happening, and I'm like, when you freelance, probably have the same thing where a client would come up to you, email you, and be like, oh, I just need a 30-second video, and almost to make it sound like, oh, it's just nothing. Like, I just need 30 seconds of good content, and think it's a very small thing, but you don't realize that, especially in like 30-second ads, I find that those are the hardest ones because every frame counts, right? Every single frame in like a 30-second ad or spot, or even like a 1-minute video, like those short videos, especially when you want to make an effective ad, every single frame counts, every single transition counts, and you have such a small window of time where if something is off, you can't recover from it, right? Like if there's a shot that's off, or maybe a transitional sound effect is too loud going from one clip to the other, you can't come back from that in 30 seconds. In like a documentary, you can get away with shaky camera footage or grainy footage or noise or whatever, but with something that is as compact and also has stakes to it, right? Because obviously you're selling something. So something that has stakes to it that's in such a small window, you have to think so much about. And I think that's really cool knowing the process, how that goes, because I find a lot of people just see the finished product. They just see a 30-second video and think, oh, that's it. And they don't realize how many people and how many hands and how many hats have to be worn and how many hands that has to touch and how many eyes that have to see it before you get to see what happens at the end. So it's cool that it's a really big team collaborative project for stuff like that. But let's get into the timelines. Let's get into kind of the technical side of things, because a lot of creators that are Adobe Premiere Pro users want to know stuff like your grading process and other things like that. So first of all, let us know, like, so when you're editing stuff and you have your in and out points, like, how do you know what to keep?
Oh, that's such a great question. That's such a challenging question. The truth is, I don't know what to keep, right? I know what I like. I know what my eye likes. and I know what the brief has been given to me, right? So whether that be, hey, we need some close-ups of the product. What do close-ups mean? Well, that could be anything from any form of branding, like Steve's got some prominent writing on here, right? Steve Cook, Series 3, right? Looks great. But it could be other things, like it could be the detail, it could be the stitching, it could be the way the hem is on the bottom, it could be anything, or the zipper or something like that. So we need to think about those key elements, and that all comes back to like the way we edit the video as well, right? So if I know that my in and out points need a close-up of the logo or the branding on the t-shirt, do we need to show a close-up on a white, a black, and a blue t-shirt? And the answer is probably not, right? If it's the same thing. So how do I know which one to keep? Well, the reality of it is I don't, but I know that I need the close-up of the logo, so my in and out point's going to include that. Then later in the edit, I'm going to be looking at, and if you can see here, and when we bring it out, I actually categorize all my footage in terms of what I need. So I'll use my labels inside Premiere to identify the different elements. And for Steve's video, he's wearing different pieces of clothing. So I know that the shot in this clip here and the shot in this clip here, he'll be wearing the same clothing. So I'll then be able in the edit to understand that the close-up that follows that clip likely won't be that black camo t-shirt, because I've already shown that to the audience and they've already seen that. They want a bit of variety. So then I'll be able to show them the white shirt instead. And now I can bin from my selects that I didn't know whether I wanted to keep it or not. I can now bin them off the black and the blue version of this shot because I know I won't use it. So that really goes back to, how do I know what to keep? I don't, I just know what shots I think look great. And if it wasn't for the organization and the footage and how we categorize it, whether it be from battle ropes that were shot on the FX3 or whether it be the front squat wearing the white top, and I've got one folder here just for Osa and Steve working together because he only changed twice. I wouldn't know particularly whether that's the one that's going to get used, and that's why I sort of call my in and outs as like a pre-select, and I try not fall into that trap of my in and outs on all my footage is my selects, right? Because otherwise I'll just have far too much.
Perfect, man. That's really in depth too. It's cool that like when you're working with clothing brands, you have different products. It's great to just categorize them. So when you do have to kind of go back and find out which one is which, it's super easy. It's color coded. It's easy to understand. And I also noticed that you have all of the voiceover, like, sorry, not the voiceovers, but you have all of the copy in different languages on those timelines and stuff like that. So are they kind of cut the exact same way, or how do you guys kind of process doing that? Tell me the process about how you guys cut up all the copy for that? So
I absolutely love that you bring that question up. This has been such a huge challenge. So like, I'm quite, I wouldn't say arrogant to like other languages, but I've never had a passion or an interest in learning another language. And I think it's absolutely awesome, those that are like multilingual, bilingual, like I think it's incredible how for their mind they can just connect that. But because I don't understand it, it's a huge learning curve in how I edit a video. And for the start of Steve's video, there's some copy that comes up the front, right? And Chloe, our copywriter, came up with this narrative that is really strong. That's something that we consider strong, but still sells a message. And as part of like my dynamic editing process, I want to make sure that those words are front and center. Because if I'm running this as an ad, I'm pretty confident that most of our audience is going to have audio off, right? A lot of people are scrolling in the queue in Starbucks, they're in their office, they're working, and they've got their volume off, right? So they need to be able to see that text, and sometimes, just sometimes, captions just aren't enough. If we look here, the captions at the bottom of the video, and it's something, it's like, it's eye blindness, right? It's caption blindness. Your eye is so tuned to not looking at it because you see it all the time. It's a bit like banner ad blindness. Banner ads and websites, they still exist, right? But we just see them so often that we tune them out. So the way we avoid that is by having the words come up front. Problem with that is when you then change the language is those words are those words don't mean the same in every language, and sometimes how you say a sentence, so we in the English language, we're able to break that down word for word because natively that's how we're speaking, right? But each individual word in, say, Dutch means something completely different. So Strength looks different to everyone, and one sentence will be written with a set amount of words in Dutch, but the word strength on its own would be written with a completely different word, right? Because it means something completely different.
All right, so I'm gonna call this video right about here because I don't wanna bore you guys too much with this kind of stale back and forth, but this is part one of a two-part, or actually probably a multi-part series, because I am gonna break a lot of these down into shorter clips that you can see some of the timelines and stuff that me and Aaron are talking about in this video. That being said, this is a small part of the editing breakdown, podcast version, if that's what you want to call it, of how we actually did this Gymshark commercial shoot. Now, I just came back from LA doing another project with Gymshark, so we will be doing another behind the scenes kind of breakdown of some of the stuff that went on there, as well as some other tips and tutorials like that as well. So if you guys do want to subscribe to the channel and see more of that kind of stuff, that is what this channel is going to be for. It's about filmmaking, tutorials, tips, gears, and stuff like that, particularly for companies in the fitness industry, because that's where a lot of my content lives. That being said, I'm gonna head out of here because I have a whole bunch of things to do today, and I think we actually finally got decent weather in Canada, so I'm gonna go and enjoy myself. So, see you guys in the next one. Peace.